Oh my goodness. I've got on my house dress today. Hello, y'all. It's Chris and Tammy with Collard Valley Cooks. And boy, I have studied and studied about cast iron cleaning and care. And I'm going to teach y'all a few things today. I have got this old skillet right here. This is an 8-inch skillet, as old as the hills. You can tell by looking at the bottom. The only thing on the bottom of the skillet is the number 5. Okay. So I'm not sure who made this skillet, but it's not real heavy and it's a good one. And you can tell it's been used for many years, and you can tell by how slick the seasoning is on this skillet. It's got a really good seasoning on it. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to show you how to clean your cast iron. Today we're going to be talking about a lot of things. I'm going to show you how to clean it. I'm going to show you how to take one that has rust on it, like this one, and what to do to get the rust off and what to do to pre-season it or re-season it. Most cast iron comes today pre-seasoned. My newest cast iron skillet is actually in this oven right here, and we're going to season it next. We're going to be working with 2 or 3 skillets, and I'm going to show you all the different ones I have and the different brands I recommend. And there's actually 10 companies that sell cast iron in the United States, okay? And quite a few of them are really young companies with young entrepreneurs. And so I've done a lot of study, and I don't know if many of y'all know it or not, but I'm actually have an engineering degree, and most people don't know that. They look at me and they hear the way I talk, and they just assume that I'm this barefooted country Georgia girl that don't have a lot of knowledge, but I used to be really smart. And today, so when I do something like this, I really like to get into the meat and potatoes of it and try to do a good job for y'all. So the first thing we're going to do is, years ago, they had lye in the soaps, and so you weren't supposed to put soap in your skillets. Today, however, almost all of the companies tell you to use a little bit of dish detergent when you clean. I'm going to show you how I've been cleaning my skillets my whole life, okay? And typically, I just use my dishwater. I don't typically, and sometimes I actually squirt a little bit of detergent in the skillet if there's something baked on in here. And I'm going to show you what you're going to do for that. You're going to tell that I'm a large brush lover by how many large brushes I have. Okay. One I use to scrub a lot of things, even outside, like my bird bath. This thing works great. Get you some bleach water out there, scrub your bird bath, and then make sure you bleach it out good. I've got one that I use to wash dishes and do things like that. I've got one that I scrub my vegetables with, and I've got one that is brand new, just to show y'all. Actually, I bought it for my daughter because they're so good. But anyway, what I typically do is I just take the iron skillet, if there's something stuck on, and I brush it with this brush. Now, if this brush don't get something that's stuck on good enough, what you're supposed to do is clean it once like that. Every time you wash an iron skillet, now they tell you to dry it really well, and but I like to put them on the stove every time I wash them, and I do. Every time I wash a skillet, I put it on the stove. If you've got something that's stuck in it, instead of pouring water in it and leaving it in the sink for a few hours, that's not good for the finish. What you're supposed to do is put just a little bit of water in it, just enough to cover the stuck-on stuff. You're supposed to put it on the stovetop. Y'all can come on over here. Now, this is for something that's stuck on, okay, that you can't seem to get off even with a scraper. You're going to put a little water in it. You're going to turn on the eye like that. And you're just going to let that simmer. It says simmer for about 3 to 5 minutes. Then you're going to turn it off, let it cool down, and try to scrub it again. Now, you can use a plastic scraper on the bottom of your pan, and you can use the large brush. I never have had to use anything but the brush. Okay, that's what I use. So that's going to show you how to do something stuck on. Otherwise, you just wash it like I did in your soapy water. Now I'm going to show you how to season it. All right.
Now, again, this is the manufacturer's recommendation.
Yes,
the
it
people
is.
that make these
Cast iron
skillets.
This is not Mama told me, Granny told me.
So it's okay.
Yeah, I told y'all when we started, I'm an engineer. I studied this. I went to 9 different cast iron sites. I read all of their recommendations for cleaning, all of their recommendations for seasoning. And I'm even going beyond that because I'm just like that. And I'm going to show y'all how to do it the right way. So this video is how to clean and season your cast iron the right way. Not Mama's way, not Grandmama's way, not just one website's way, but the right way. I think this is going to cover all your bases, okay? And so I'm doing several things in this video. I'm going to tell you about the different companies. I'm going to tell you about my different cast iron. I'm going to show you how to season it. Now, the first thing is this is heating up. And one thing I learned about cast iron while I was studying is it is not the best at distributing its heat fast. And me and Chris already knew that. And for an example is if you want to sear a steak in your cast iron, you don't need to put your cast iron on the stove, turn it on, and throw your steak in there. You need to have your cast iron sitting on the stove at a low temperature for about 20 minutes so that the heat distributes all the way across. Then you turn it up, put your oil in there, and sear your steak, okay? So you're going to see that starting to bubble on the bottom. So if something's stuck on in there, this is going to loosen it, all right? That's your step on how to do something stuck. Now, I'm going to turn that off. And what we're going to do is this oven is at 200 degrees. Every time you season a skillet or a pan, you're going to start at 200 degrees. You're going to wash it like we just did in the sink and clean it and dry it. Then you're going to put it in the oven at 200 degrees. Now, what that does is it gets it completely dry. Now, this is a new cast iron skillet, brand new. You can see some discoloration in this skillet already. And they do come pre-seasoned, but when you use them, and they do, the coloring changes, okay? And I learned that they say that there's different things that are going to, you can actually season your cast iron with just about anything but olive oil. And I think the reason they say that is because olive oil comes in all different kinds of ways. And you got to get the right kind of a high smoke point olive oil or you shouldn't use it, which I use anyway. But, you know, I've been using cast iron my whole life. Let me show you the oldest skillet I got. It's probably this one. You can see the bottom of it. You can't read anything anymore. It's old as the hills. Who knows how old the skillet is? It's smaller than a typical 10.25-inch skillet. So it's really old. Look how smooth the finish is in this skillet. It's beautiful. And you know what I make the most in it? Cornbread. You know what I cook with the most in it? Just regular corn oil and Crisco. All right. So I'm using Crisco. What we learned today is that it's according what oil you're using as to what temperature you're going to bake your cast iron at if you want to put it in the oven. You can do it on the stovetop, which is what I always do. But I'm going to show you how to do something in the oven when something's like this and it's a mess. You want to re-season it, okay? And this one looks pretty bad, and since it's brand new, I thought it was a good one to season today. So you're just going to take some Crisco, because that's what I use the most. That's what I'm using. And you're just going to rub it in here. And after you rub it, if it's a really old skillet, you can rub all around it, rub the bottom of it, whatever you want to do. Then you're going to take another paper towel and you're going to take off the excess, just like that. That's all you do. Then you're going to, if you do it that way, you can just go ahead and put it in your oven. Now, your oven needs to be set at whatever temperature your smoke point is on the oil you decide to use. I'm using Crisco. And Crisco's smoke point is higher than anything's. Believe it or not, it's 490 degrees. So I'm going to place this in the oven upside down for an hour. And I'm going to set my oven all the way to the smoke point. And it's going to stay in there for an hour at that smoke point. Now, so let's say you're using corn oil. Your smoke point's 400 degrees. You're going to set your oven at 400 degrees, place it in there for an hour. If you're using, I'm going to give y'all some examples of things y'all use the most. Actually, corn oil's 450 degrees. Lard, if you're using lard, 360 degrees. Now, let me tell you something about the different things you're using to do this with. When you season an iron skillet, the oil you use has a flavor to it, especially something like lard. If you like the taste of lard, then season it with lard. If you don't like the taste of lard, for heaven's sakes, don't season it with lard, or some of your foods are going to have that lard taste, okay? And so that's very important. If you've got a skillet like this one, and it really needs a lot of work, I'm going to show you what you're going to do to get that rust off.
All right, hold up a second. Tell them again, like how you clean, because you told them like two different things there.
That's all you do.
Just go through the whole process.
So first you're going to clean the skillet, wash it really good, dry it, put it in a 200-degree oven.
Okay.
Then take it out of that 200-degree oven, put your seasoning on it with a paper towel. Then take another paper towel, dry it out as much as you can so it's real thin. Put it in the oven at the smoke point for 1 hour.
Okay.
That's it. That's more than you're going to get on any website because they don't tell you that. They just tell you what kind of oil to use and what temperature to use. Okay.
Don't forget you got that sitting in water over there.
Oh. And, well, it's not going to hurt it. I mean, it's a skillet sitting in water is not going to hurt it if it's just sitting there for a little while. While I'm doing this, let's do this. This is how I do most of mine. And you can see my cast iron that's sitting here. I never use the oven because I typically don't have to like worry about
the finish or
the seasoning because a lot of my stuff is old and it's got a really good smooth finish and seasoning. Now this is a typical, just a typical skillet that I just washed and dried. What I typically do, you can do it this way. If you don't want to use the oven and you're not worried about putting several layers on, because when you use the oven, you can do it up to 4 times. So you could put layers upon layers. When you use this, you can also use the stovetop. So typically when I wash a skillet, lots of times I will rub it and I turn on the stove. And you want to do it on the low temperature, very low temperature. And you're just going to let it sit there. And after a few minutes, I'm going to show you, it's going to start, it could possibly start beating up a little bit. And you're going to want to make sure and wipe that out of there because if you don't, it won't be a nice smooth finish. Okay. So you don't want excess oil on the skillet. Okay. So we'll come over here and look at it in a few minutes. But I think because I applied it with a paper towel and wiped it with another paper towel, it shouldn't do that, but we'll look at it. Okay. Now to get some rust off of one, this is totally different. This is a pan that was brand new. Okay. I dried it on the stovetop. I have no idea why that's there. The only thing I can think of is because it is a grill pan. We probably grilled a steak in it or something like that. I may have had some stuck on food on this side and possibly took more of the finish off than I should have when I cleaned it. I don't know how it happened. It's supposed to be brand new and they're supposed to be pre-seasoned, but you know the old saying, I'm going to go ahead and say it. I know a lot of y'all are my old people, but I'm going to say it anyway. Shit happens. You know what I mean? And so what we're going to do is we're going to put some shortening on here. And then you're going to take some salt, coarse salt. This is just to get off the rust. And then a potato. And I'm going to cut this potato so that it can get in between the grooves a little bit. All right.
About that.
And so just really scrub it where the rust is. Now, if you got a pan that you got from, let's say, a yard sale, and it's really bad. One thing that I did read is, it's some people say throw it on a fire. They said never do that. Don't throw it on a fire. You can use steel wool in it, but never use steel wool in a pan that don't need steel wool. Like this pan was brand new. I wasn't about to go get steel wool for this little bit of rust because that would be in excess and hurt the pan more than it would help it. So I'm going to just use this potato and salt, and you could even use your large brush as well.
Now you really got to be careful where you get your information. If you go on, like there's all these cast iron websites and stuff, and you'll get everything in the absolute world.
Yes. You need to go to the manufacturer's websites or the people that actually create the product. They're going to know what to do the most.
Yeah.
All right. So that's what we just washed that. It took all the rust off of it. It looks really nice. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little soap in it. I'm going to brush it out with my brush. Just like that. We're going to rinse it. We're going to dry it, get it over here on the stove top, and get it nice and dry. This is a large. I have 2 large grill pans. No, I have 1 large grill pan. Most all my skillets are 10.25 inches. That's just the standard size that I like and I can handle. Now, if you're a younger woman and you got a big family, you can get a 12-inch one, but you got to be able to pick it up and use it. And the older you get, the harder that is to do. So I'm going to tell you what I recommend for older people. If you're buying cast iron and you're older, Lodge has a new lightweight cast iron black lock, okay, which was the name of the original company before they named it Lodge. The original company was called Black Lock. Look how pretty that is. So we're going to dry it.
Oh, so you're not going to do the oven thing with this one?
Yes, I am.
Oh, you are?
Yes.
Oh, you're just drying it first. I got
yes.
Okay. Okay.
So you always dry it first. Well, I guess I could put it in my 200-degree oven, but I thought you could put it in your 200-degree oven to dry it
for 10 minutes.
For 10 minutes, but instead of doing that, I'm going to do it on the stovetop so it's a little quicker for y'all since we're live.
Gotcha.
And now we're going to come over here and look at this one. Now I'm going to turn up once I see that it's nice and smooth and it doesn't look like it's beady. And it looks just a tiny bit beady. I'm going to take a paper towel dry part. And I mean, it's barely hot. I can still pick this up. I wouldn't advise you to do it, but I can still do it. And I'm just going to wipe it one more time. And I'm going to turn it up. Now you're going to want it up pretty high because you want it at the smoke point. You know, you want it to get hot. And then I'm going to just leave it on for about 10 good minutes or so. And that's how you do it on the stovetop. It's faster and it's easier. But if you've got one that's in really bad shape that needs a bunch of layers, you might want to do it in the oven. But just look how pretty that one looks after I took that rust off. I mean, it really looks good. Matter of fact, it's hard to tell which side the rust was on.
Yeah, can't tell.
I think it was right here.
Uh-huh. Yeah, because there's something.
Yeah, kind of there.
Yeah.
All right, so what we're going to do once this dries is we're going to coat it. Now, when you coat one with grooves in it, you need to be real careful and, you know, not overdo the groove, you know, not overdo it. And then get in all the grooves. Come on over here, Chris. I'm going to coat this one. Okay. So we're going to coat this one. And this is the original Crisco I started with. So there's not a whole lot on it anymore. It's a really good application for these grooves, I think. And we're just going to go over the grooves. It says to use a blue type paper towel so that it don't do what it just did. I got all the fuzzies. Here, let me brush it out. It got all the fuzzies in it from the paper towel. The paper towel broke down. And this is why I recommend too that you have a stainless steel sink, y'all. Because you see how I can come over here with this. If you have a white sink, you can't do that. I know they're pretty. And I was looking at a video when we lived in St. Mary's, and I thought, you know, that sink I had was so pretty in St. Mary's, and my kitchen was so cute. But, did I miss some?
Yeah.
But I love my stainless steel not for looks, but for use. It's a really good thing. Now look how pretty that looks. I'm going to go ahead and get a better paper towel and put some more on it. The good thing about it, when it's barely warm like this, it's just warm enough that I can still touch the handle, but this part is warm. It's easier to put the oil on it because it melts it a little bit. So you just want to coat it good. And it's a lot harder to do one like this.
Yeah, most people don't have those kind.
Because it's got grills in the bottom. Yeah. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get a cloth. Come over here. Let's look at this one.
Okay. Start to smoke a little bit now. You think we need to turn on the...
Yeah.
Before we set off the fire on again.
You can kind of see, actually, even if it's an old pan, it really needs some seasoning. You see that? How it looks? I'll turn this one off. And when you do it like this, you can actually heat it up a little bit, let it sit there a few minutes, and put another coat on it. And this is what I typically do. Like, I'll just be in the kitchen and I'll turn around and I'll wipe it. And I'll use the same paper towel and turn around a few minutes and wipe it again. That's the best thing to do. And then after you clean them, even if you don't want to do this with the heat, it's good to wipe a little oil in them. You don't want to use a lot of oil. See, I had to really, really wipe to get that whole thing coated. And now it is. That's how it looks. Look at the bottom of this one. All right. Now that I've taught y'all how to do, how to clean it, how to season it on the stove, on the stove top, how to season it in the oven.
So they're going to leave it, like when they're doing the full season, in there for an hour on the smoke point.
Yes.
And if it's not clean, like if it's sticky or whatever, they just leave it in there, right?
Yes. If you get the skillet out, let me get this one in the oven with the other one.
Oh, okay.
I'm just wiping out the excess that was in here, and we're just going to flip this. I don't care if it's got some of the paper towel on it. It's not going to hurt it. We're going to put it in here with this one. Now, this is my new Black Lock lightweight that we're seasoning. And this is my other one we're seasoning. There you go. Simple dimple. Now, let me tell you this. If you're using one even on the stove top or out of the oven and you get it out and you take a dry paper towel and you run in there and it's sticky, that means it needs to bake longer. It should be a nice dry finish when it comes out of the oven. If it's sticky, you either, another thing that's really good is if you put it in the oven or on the stove top, after it's been in there 20 minutes, 10 minutes, it's good to take it out and lightly rub it to make sure there's no excess on it, even if you've already rubbed it twice. So you can never rub too much off of it. A lot of people think, well, you're just taking all the oil off of it. The oil that needs to be on it is going to be on it. Okay? So try to do that. Like this one right here. It's starting to look a little more, you want it to look, when you're done, you want the whole thing to kind of look black and shiny. And you can tell the finish right in the center is still not quite there. So I'm going to keep doing this one until I get a really nice, pretty look. When you get done, it really should look more like that.
Yeah.
Now let me talk about my wok, because I had a cast iron company kick me off their cast iron group on Facebook.
Years ago.
And y'all, they swore up and down this was not cast iron. And I said, it is a cast iron wok. It's a lightweight. Now, it was probably made in China. It's made by Excel Steel, okay? This one is actually a Berghoff.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's not a Chinese.
But there's one that I recommend you buy that's made by Excel Steel that looks just like this one, okay? When you first get them, they do have a pre-finish. It doesn't take long to wear it off. And it's cast iron. It starts to rust if you don't refinish it, okay? I was just on a site for the Excel Steel one. And this lady was doing a review on this skillet, and she was Chinese. And carbon steel is real popular for woks because of the heat transfer. And she said she liked her cast iron wok by Excel Steel better than she liked her
steel one,
carbon steel one. And she said you just can't beat cast iron, and you can't. The flavor of it, it's just wonderful. And so this is a lightweight cast iron 13-inch wok. You can get it for under $30 on Amazon. I have a link in the post. I have a link to all my cast iron in the post, okay? And of course, I can't link these old ones. I don't even know what kind they are. This one is non-marked. This one is non-marked. This one is non-marked. They're so old.
No, I think that one's a lodge.
This one?
Yeah, I think
No.
so. Oh.
This is non-marked. Honey, it's this one that's the lodge.
Oh, that's a 3-inch. Yeah, I got you. Yeah.
Yes.
I got you.
But see, that one doesn't have a mark on the bottom. It doesn't have a number or anything. And it's a really good deep fry skillet. I'm looking at this, and I'm just going to keep rubbing it with the same paper towel every 10 or 20 minutes. And just leave it on there until it's got a finish on it that you think is nice. I think I've about covered everything.
Let's tell them why they need to have cast iron.
Okay.
Why it's important.
That thing's so loud.
Yeah.
Let me get a drink of tea, y'all, because my mouth is, I've been talking for a while. I have had so many things to cook in over the years. And I grab my cast iron more than anything. There's some things that aren't good in cast iron, and there's some things that can't be beat in cast iron. I don't fry eggs in cast iron. Now, some of you may, and you can. If you got a good seal on it, you can. It's not that you can't. I just prefer my all-clad non-stick skillets to do things like that. So eggs. No, I don't use with my cast iron. I use it to fry cube steak. I use it to sear a steak. If you want a steak that tastes like it's from Longhorn or a high-end restaurant, get you a tenderloin steak. And I've got a couple of videos, but I actually would even change several of the things in those videos. Like one, I sear the steak in a lot of oil. If I were to do that video over, I would just barely put a good bit of oil on the steak and in the pan, not let it be swimming in oil. But anyway, you can't get a better sear on a steak than cast iron, but you do need to let it heat up on the stove for about 20 minutes on a low temperature before you turn it up to sear your steak, so that your steak gets seared all the way across the bottom and not just around the edges, okay? But, I mean, I use my cast iron to make my gravy. I use my cast iron to fry chicken. I use my cast iron to make my skillet cakes that you cannot get a better cake than my apple skillet, my pineapple upside down skillet. I got a peach skillet. I got one more skillet cake. I can't think. Anyway, you can't beat the skillet cakes. They're those recipes, the cake is so fluffy and so moist, and they do rise too high for my regular skillet. I would recommend you use a 12-inch skillet or the deep 3-inch skillet to make my skillet cakes in. Cornbread.
You gotta have. You can't even make cornbread.
You cannot make cornbread without an iron skillet. Not in it be like it ought to be. And the reason I think you should use shortening to do this with is because Mama used shortening, Granny used shortening, we all use shortening for our cornbread. And we all use shortening for our biscuits. And we all use shortening. Mama used shortening to fry everything when I was growing up. And all her cast iron looked great. And so there's nothing wrong with using the shortening. It's got a...
And lard will do the same thing.
Lard will do the same thing, but you're going to taste the lard.
Taste it, yeah.
So if you want the taste of lard in your food, when you do make biscuits even, it will even come through in your biscuits. Like if you don't make your biscuits with lard, but you've seasoned your cast iron with lard and you flip them upside down, those biscuits on the bottom are going to have a lard flavor.
Which I like.
Which Chris loves, but I don't. So I would never use lard to do that. Now, if y'all grew up eating lard and you don't want a lot of lard in your food, but you want to use it to season, that would make sense, because you could season your cast iron with your lard and it would get a hint of lard into your biscuits and into your gravy and into your food without having to put a lot of that in the ingredients. If you don't want to use it in your body, in other words, but you want the flavor, that would be a good way to get the flavor. Really, it'd be a good way to flavor anything. You could flavor, now they have, you know, whatever you like. I'm trying to think. Now, I was going to tell you about the 10 companies that sell in the United States.
We fry all our vegetables pretty much in the iron skillets too.
Yes, I fry my okra in cast iron. I fry my squash, breaded squash, in cast iron. If you watch my videos, you're going to see me using cast iron almost every time I cook. And I use a lot of Crisco because Mama did and my family did, and they lived to be plenty old, and so I'm not worried about it killing me or nothing like some people do.
I was telling Tammy when I was single, and I didn't have hardly anything that I could cook, but I didn't have a lot of stuff. I had cast iron.
Yeah.
I had a 12-inch and a 10-inch and an 8-inch cast iron.
Mm-hmm. Now they make cast iron porcelain enameled, and that would be another video altogether because it's so different than just regular cast iron on how to take care of it and how to use it. But y'all, a lot of that stuff is so heavy as you get older, it's hard to use it. And it's hard to pour anything out of it. So you have to be careful. It's just according to what you can handle. If you're a young woman, it's no big deal at all. You can have a whole set of it. And I remember when me and Chris were young, I had a whole set of that stuff. And I used it all the time. The porcelain enamel, I bought it cheap at some discount store. But now I could never do that. It's just too heavy for me. But anyway, I was going to tell y'all about the different companies. I'll do another video on enameled cast iron and how to clean it and how to take care of it and what pieces are the most popular and what you can and can't live without. When I was young, I had a lot more cast iron. I let my sister use it in her house, or a little house she rented. When she left the home, she forgot to get her cast iron out of the bottom of the oven pull-out tray. And I mean, it was a lot of cast iron, and it was all seasoned and all in good shape. And I had the little corn, you know, where you have the corn muffins. I mean, I had all kind of stuff. And she left it there, and I lost all my cast iron. So these are pieces I picked up since then. These are all pieces I picked up.
The good thing is it's affordable too. I mean, cast iron is much more affordable.
Well, it's not. That's what I'm about to talk about. I'm going to wipe this again.
You mean for, I'm talking about it's for
if you buy Lodge, it's affordable.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you this. I recommend Lodge, and I recommend, and not because they sponsor me, I just recommend it because it's been around forever. They have, I read all about it today. It's the coolest thing. They have let me just tell y'all this. It was really interesting. But now some of these companies, and a lot of them, it's very expensive to buy their cast iron because they're not like Lodge. They're small companies. They're just starting up. So to buy a skillet, it's $250. So a lot of these newer companies that make it in the United States, it's not affordable. But the thing that makes it affordable is the fact that it lasts for generations and generations and generations.
3-4 lifetimes.
I mean, there's no telling how old a couple of these skillets are over here. I mean, they're really old. But they have a 148-foot furnace at Lodge.
It's in South Pittsburgh, Tennessee.
148 feet. And this furnace is the one that they put their porcelain enamel in. And it starts at the beginning of the furnace, and it moves through the furnace, and it takes it 45 minutes to heat up. And it's made, porcelain enamel's made from glass and this powdery substance. And then it gets its shine. They spray it on there. Each and every one they spray on there. They put the hardware on there individually, even at Lodge still. But like I said, there's 10 companies that sell cast iron in the United States. This one that I recommend is not in the United States. And the reason I recommend it is because it's more lightweight and it's economical. and that's Victoria cast iron. It's made in Cambodia. So if you go down into the description post, you're going to see links to my pans, what brand they are, and all of these right here are Lodge. I don't have a Victoria one, but I do recommend you buy it because they have great reviews and they're lightweight. So if you're older and it's really hard for you to use cast iron and it's hard for you to make gravy and be able to pour up the gravy, get you some Victoria cast iron and go through the link that's in my post. Please get it through Amazon and don't not use your cast iron. I mean, try to get some lightweight and continue to use it because it has benefits. It gives flavor to the food and it gives you some iron in your body, which is really important for like pregnant women and children, not so much us anymore, but it's just good. Now, I'm going to name the companies in America. There's one called Appalachian Cast Iron. They just make several skillets, and they're the big one that makes a waffle iron that heats up on the stove, and it has the thing that comes down. And boy, does that thing, because there's so many cracks and crevices, you'd really have to take care of that thing, and it's expensive. Burrow Furnace, it's made in the U.S. in New York. It's family owned, and they have beautiful products. The finishes on the products look gorgeous, but it's pricey. There's one called Butter Pat, but it's been purchased by Yeti. And I didn't go to Yeti's website and see what's going on with that. So y'all can if you want to. There's one called Field Company. It's two brothers that had a vintage skillet from I can't remember if it was their grandmother or their great-grandmother. And it was one of the big popular brands. I don't know. I think it was the one that starts with a G.
Field? Yeah, like field?
I think it was a Griswold.
Like a cornfield?
The name of it's Field,
okay.
Yes.
All right.
Like a cornfield.
All right.
And those are two brothers that had a Griswold skillet that their grandmother had, and they just loved it so much, and it was in terrible shape, and they figured out how to clean it, and they loved the whole process so much, they decided to create a company. And they have really pretty products. And they have a great seasoning oil, okay? There's one called Phoenix, F-I-N-E-X. And theirs are all octagon shaped on the top part. And that's how you tell theirs apart. And they're out of Oregon. And they have a speed cool handle. It's a spiral handle. So it cools quicker than the regular cast iron handle. There's one called Grizzly that's veteran owned. So if you're a veteran or you like to support veterans, that one's veteran owned. All they make is skillets and they're out of North Carolina. There's one called Lancaster. Now, Lancaster was created in 2018 as two college grads. It's in Pennsylvania. And I'm going to be honest with you, to me, they had the best website on how to care for your cast iron and how to maintain your cast iron and how to season it. Lancaster.
Best website. Beautiful products.
Expensive, but they got it going on. You can tell they're a young group and their website's amazing. And of course, there's Lodge that's in Tennessee. And it has two foundries there that run in Tennessee. And they've been around forever. I got a whole page about Lodge. They started in 1896. It was first called Black Lock Foundry. Okay. It burned down in 1910. And when they recreated it, they called it Lodge. They they survived the Great Depression. Listen to this. By making novelty items like animals and gnomes. That just blows my mind. In 1939, because, like gnomes were popular for quite a while here. And I always thought, what's the big deal with gnomes? I never got into the gnome thing. And then I learned that they made gnomes out of cast iron in the Depression. And that's how they kept their employees working. Then they got a molding press installed in the 50s and 60s. And then their iconic logo was made in 73. And they started making porcelain enamel in 2005. And so, I mean, they're just, they've been around forever. And then there's one called Nest Homeware out of Rhode Island. It was started in 2013.
Nest?
Nest, like an eagle's nest.
Okay.
Homeware. There's one called Smithy, Smithy, out of South Carolina. It's cast iron and carbon steel, and it's just a few products that they make. There's one called Stargazer out of Pennsylvania, and it's a young team. Now, all these last ones I mentioned are young teams. Quite a few of these are young teams, and they're just starting out. But it's interesting to go into these websites and learn about these different companies and learn why they started their companies and how they got started. So there's a lot of U.S. companies, and you could tell it said that cast iron really hit a hard time. I believe it was in the 50s, or it might have been the 70s, when Teflon took over and aluminum took over, and people started using it, and they didn't use cast iron anymore. And so now it's booming, it's big, it's back, it's popular, you know.
But you had all those old people from the 20s and 30s and 40s that probably had the exact same cast iron. Like it's a once in a lifetime purchase.
Right.
So you never had to.
No, you never had to use it again.
Yeah.
And then their kids could use it, and then their grandkids, and then their great grandkids, and they're still using the same product. Now you tell me what pot you've got that lasts that long. The only ones I have that's lasted that long are that I think would last that long is my Salad Masters.
Yeah, they would. And
the Salad Masters that I have, there is something very similar to those that I suggest you buy online. And the lids may have some pluses and minuses as far as the way they vent and stuff, but the actual pot part, you can't beat it. It will never
use it your whole life.
Use it forever.
Yeah.
If you burn something in them, a lot of people don't know this, but if you burn something in cast iron, this is looking good. If you burn something in cast iron,
perfect.
You can just let it soak overnight in the sink and take a spoon, and it usually just peels right up. Oh, if you burn something really bad in cast iron, don't throw it away. You can put baking soda in it with a little water and simmer it on the stove, and it loosens it from the bottom. So those cast iron pans, a lot of people probably throw away because they don't think because they don't know how to take the burnt part off, but you can get it off. Stainless steel.
Do you want to look at these? Now you were saying cast iron. Did you mean stainless steel when you said all that stuff about leaving it overnight?
Yes, I meant stainless steel.
Not cast iron.
Not cast iron. All right, you can tell I got a little oven thermometer. You can buy this on the website, or you can get it at Walmart. They're really cheap. They're usually less than $10, and they'll let you know the temperature of your oven if yours is like mine and it's not calibrated.
It's looking good.
Yeah.
So you're just going to do it once. Because she said you could do this process.
These are new. These are new pots.
You could do it multiple times.
Yes. If you've got one in bad shape, you can do this in the oven up to 4 times. And I've probably done this one enough. I'm probably not going to wipe it again. This will probably be my last wipe on it. But you can see that finish coming back. Looks good. A lot of people, let me show you this. This pan right here. You can tell I need to do it because you can see how dry it looks. And you can see the finish like around the edges. See how dark it looks?
Some places it's shiny and some places.
Right there?
Yeah.
That's where the good finish is. This one really needs a good coating, several coatings on the bottom of it. It should have a nice shiny look when it's dry, if it's good and coated. So I may actually do this one while we're standing here. Anytime you wash one, it's good to wipe it up and put it on the stove for a few minutes. I mean, it's not going to hurt it. Every time you use it, just wipe it and put it on the stove for a few minutes. And that way you'll keep a nice finish on it. Because if you keep a good finish on these, you can fry an egg in them. And that's it. I think I have covered all the boundaries. I'm pretty sure. And I have taught y'all a lot about cast iron today. I learned a lot about cast iron today. And that little one that had the rust on it looks like it's brand new. So that worked. I hope y'all enjoyed the video. And so many of you ask, how do I clean my cast iron? And now you know it's so simple. There's nothing to it. And I'm going to tell you, if you do anything today, if you have cast iron, if you do anything today and you don't want to purchase nothing else, get you one of these with the handle. It's made by Lodge. I think it's less than $10 through Amazon. Y'all, you will love this so much that you will buy another one and maybe even another one to use around the house. They're wonderful. So I hope y'all have a wonderful and blessed day. I thank you for watching, and I hope you make something good and some cast iron today. Y'all have a wonderful Sunday. Love ya. Bye.